this project really irritates me for many reasons. It's to me just another attention grabbing project. The form is visually striking, like as you said, Brian. I think it's quite exotic as well, particularly in contrast with the landscape that they've got. They've shown it in context with. It really stands out, and it's obviously meant to draw attention. For me, the biggest problem is the function is not justified. I think Hans was alluding to this earlier, is what is the purpose of this building? If it is for visitors in a farming landscape, or, like people are driving past who want to walk up this observational tower and have a different vantage point to the land, that function does not justify this exotic form. For a purpose that is a singular program like that, it doesn't quite justify it. And then if you do then look at the rationale of why someone would build this, if it is for harvesting solar energy, then why do you have solar panels on the side of the building, right? Where you're not actually getting, depending on which hemisphere this concept is located for, whether it's the north or south, because that side of the building is not actually going to get a lot of sunlight. So I think the design is very constrained by this, and it's very driven by this parametric form, which needs to, somehow complete this pine cone aesthetic. It's not driven by the actual function of the structure. So there's a lot of, functionally as well, there's a lot of dead space within this building. So if you look at the floor plate, each of the floor plate, why have each of these sticks protruding out? And then also the renders, they show just one or two people actually walking through the structure. So to me, again, that doesn't justify building such a massive, elaborate, intricate form just for the odd person to walk up there and experience a different vantage point. You could achieve that through a stilt-like structure or something much more minimal, and yet use the amount of solar panels that you have there to extract energy from the sun by having it actually rotate and face the same way. Or there's other techniques or tricks that you could play. So for me, I feel like the designers and the architects really got too caught up in this exotic form and the symmetry of the form. And they let the function of the building slip away. For me, this project is a very one-dimensional exercise, and it doesn't actually do much for the landscape or for the people. So I don't know why this project exists, or why this concept exists.
I mean, you know why this concept exists. It's to be another page on a pamphlet that is in someone's portfolio and has some novel ideas. It has like elements of some elements of combining nature and architecture. It is a very sculptural, unique form, but I have to agree with you. The rationale, the business rationale, as well as I just don't see a business rationale. Like, I can only justify it as art. In which case, I think it could be like, again, as you said, the solar panels. Why is it placed in the way it is? And I just imagine going up this thing. I'd 100%. If I went past it, I'd go, because it's just so striking and strange. But nobody's gonna go on one of the first, second, or third, or fourth floors. They're just gonna be empty. Who's gonna use that space? So I feel like to walk around it, you could probably spend a whole day like just walking if you want to interact with all of the surface area. But I don't think anyone would. I think only like maybe 10 to 20% of that the space would actually probably be useful.
I just have to add that, like, the thing that irks me about this project is that it's timber and it's got solar panels, so it's a sustainable project or a net zero energy project. But when you really look at the multiples of millions of dollars and the amount of engineering that will have to go into it, the foundations that would actually have to be laid to realize the structure, it's incredible. It's really an incredible amount of resources to realize this form and the structure. For what? And that's the problem that I have with it. If the structure was a vertical farming garden, well, it doesn't actually make sense in the context. You've got so much land around you. Why do you need a vertical farming garden? So it's, again, the context and the function of the building does not fit what they have tried to justify here or what they've claimed here. And that's the problem I have with this.
It does give you some inspirations. I think personally thinking about kind of the very far future, how can we have wind or solar harvesting architectural structures that have that dual purpose of being in urban kind of situations, but also is very much synergetic, is using the environment to its maximum potential, and it doesn't look like so much of a man-made kind of intervention. As Brian said, I think the connection with the pine cone, I definitely see it as well. And in the future, if we could have some kind of beautiful building, these beautiful kind of structures that take precedence from natural forms, but in a way that leverages, like with any natural form, you can go back to why is a pine cone shaped that way, and I'm sure you'd be able to find ways to implement similar logic, not just the skin of the aesthetic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you're talking about the actual program of the building, and it can go into multiple layers of how you can seek inspiration from nature and realize this in the real world. Something like this, a structure like this, has really good airflow. It maximizes the amount of light that penetrates through the building because it's quite porous. I can imagine this being realized somewhere with a really high urban density and being used as a vertical farm, or an existing structure or a skyscraper being retrofitted, with this sort of modular element so that it can operate as a vertical farm, or I don't know, it needs more of a function to it beyond just being a vantage point for someone to walk up and experience. So those are my thoughts on it.